Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fresh Take from What Fresh Hell, Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. This is Margaret.
And this is Amy. Today, we're talking to Nicole Graev Lipson. She's the author of the memoir and essays we'll be talking about today, Mothers and Other Fictional Characters. This book features essays that have also appeared in the Best American Essays 2024, The Sun, Virginia Quarterly Review, the Gettysburg Review, the Boston Globe, and more. Nicole was born and raised in New York City and now lives outside of Boston with her spouse and her 3 children. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you so much for having me, Amy and Margaret. I'm so happy to be here.
So let's start with the title of this book, Mothers and Other Fictional Characters. The title really speaks to me. I think I understand where this is your starting point, but talk to me about the title.
So the title, I really wanted to work and function in a number of ways. But first and foremost, I've thought so much since becoming a mother. My oldest is 15 now and my youngest is 9. So I've had several years to think about this, about the ways that we as women can find ourselves stepping into fictionalized versions of ourselves after we become a mother. There is such an existing script, I think, in our culture of what motherhood is supposed to look like, what it should look like, what is the costumery and the trappings and the props of motherhood, right? What are the right things to be wearing to look like the right mother? And how much motherhood really can feel like a performance. And I'm contrasting that with the actual day-to-day work and devotions and joys and challenges of motherhood. So I really wanted to think about that fictional template that we're handed as women of motherhood and contrast that through really truth-telling, honest narratives about my own experience as a mother and as a woman of what happens when the performance and the truth collide.
Yeah, it's super interesting because it's very much the project of our podcast to a certain degree is figuring out those differences. And then there are places where you fit the narrative and then places where you completely diverge from the narrative.
Yeah. And I also think, and it's one thing I explore in my book, is as women, there are many narratives and templates that we're sort of urged to step into over the course of the female lifespan, starting in girlhood, through adolescence, young adulthood as a woman, motherhood. Even if you choose not to become a mother, you have your own template. And unfortunately, in our culture, as we've seen recently, that's also a very limiting template, this negative idea of sort of the childless cat lady, right? Or the spinster. And even older age becomes a sort of template, unfortunately, for women in our culture. So often that template is irrelevance, invisibility.
Nicole, I actually pulled out a section about aging that you wrote in the book that I think is so beautiful. Can you read us the segment about aging of women and how it's perceived?
I'd love to. That aging is shameful and laughable, and the latter years of a woman's life a descent into caricature, or obscurity are truths so commonly accepted they're barely discernible. But they take their toll on women nevertheless, wearing away at our sense of possibility, narrowing our imaginings of who we are yet to become, mentally shortening our lifespans, and leaving us frantic that with every turn of the calendar page, part of us is evaporating.
I mean, so true. And I think about this all the time when I see somebody, on Instagram saying like, I'm almost 40 years old and it's almost over for me, but here's what I've learned from this lofty peak. And I'm like, oh my God, enjoy it. Like it's not evaporating, but we constantly feel as women that we're almost out of time, that like the sands of our glass of our worthiness are slipping away from us.
Absolutely. And I think what's really interesting about that feeling, right, which comes from this sort of worship of youth in our culture, but particularly youthful women and women preserving their youth. I mean, there's been a lot of exploration of how men are still considered sexy, right, at age 60, 70 and beyond, and women generally are not culturally. But what I think is so interesting actually in experiencing aging now, I mean, I'm in the latter half of my 40s, is that in some ways, in really vital, important ways, I feel more alive, more in touch with my vitality, more in control of my powers and my abilities than I did when I was younger. And I know I have a lot of friends around my age who feel this way too, women friends, that they really are just coming into themselves in some way. And it's ironic and sort of tragic that just as we really are feeling and accessing our deepest powers, that our culture is sending us these messages that we're washed up.
Right. You talk about your grandmother putting on her face, to face the day, her face of makeup, her wig, and how that was her power. And I thought, I'll kind of do a version of that. I feel better about myself when I blow dry my hair and I put on my makeup and I look good. And it's my right as a woman in the 21st century to adorn myself and own my power however I want to. But then there's also a sense it's like, oh, but I'm spending 20 minutes a day getting myself ready to face the world for reasons like says who, right? And there's cost to that as well.
It's so true. And I think I battle with this internally myself, and I've written a whole essay about it in the book, yes, and I continue to battle this internally. I mean, here's the thing. One of the things that I really wanted to explore in this book is how obviously as women, we get a lot of messages from our culture about what we're supposed to look like, who we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to behave. And I don't think it's as simple as saying, these are these toxic messages and I reject them. I stand outside of them. Because we as humans cannot help but be a part of the culture in which we are raised, the soup in which we live. This is the air we breathe, right? So it's not just the world against us. It's the world in us, right? And so we need to accept that on some level and not beat ourselves up too much about that, but also to be aware that these messages are inside of us. And I think it's such a personal decision what we do with that knowledge and information. There isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. Like, Amy, if preparing yourself, putting on makeup is what makes you feel strong, is what makes you feel you can be your best self, right? Then I think we need to honor that. I feel the same way. But what I was starting to get at in that essay is, and you sort of alluded to it right now, is this idea of time. And that when I started to think about how many hours, right? You mentioned my grandmother who really did spend an hour every day putting on makeup, right? So that's, 365 hours a year that she was not doing anything else or tending to other passions of hers. And I just started to become aware a few years ago of the time that I was putting into, for me, it was like blow drying my curly hair straight, right? So that it looked a certain way, which could take 20 minutes every morning. And it's not that I reject all of that now, but I've just tried to be really much more thoughtful lately about this cost benefit of preparing my appearance for the world and the other things that I long and hope to do with my time and accomplish in the short time that I have on Earth.
And I think there's value in just speaking it, just talking about it. I was just seeing a picture of Pamela Anderson, who stopped wearing makeup, and it is the most radical act I have seen a woman engage in a long time. And it's fascinating to me that this incredibly beautiful woman is going places with no makeup on. And I will freely admit that my first reaction is like, she doesn't look good. Like, she's so beautiful. And just the radical act of not wearing makeup to award shows, it's so worthwhile to kind of break that continuum and just say, what if we considered another option here? And I think it is a fight against what you talk about. Like, we are fighting to not disappear. And that piece of your writing is so valuable. We're not doing it because we're dummies. We're doing it because the other option is to become forgettable, invisible ghosts of who we used to be.
It's so true what you're saying. And isn't it remarkable looking at Pamela Anderson, what that reaction is, like simply by her bare face without makeup on it.
In a beautiful gown with beautiful hair. Like, it's not like she's showing up in sweatpants.
No, exactly. Right. This shouldn't be seen as radical, right?
That's what I was just thinking. Right. Because it's not exactly freedom. Her not wearing makeup, which is certainly her right to do, is a statement. It's not like now she gets to live her life, right? And I'm glad she's doing it, but it's a huge statement that it isn't just she's living her life and she doesn't care. Like, she has to care because it's now all we talk about.
Right. And it's amazing that as I think about it, that what is a statement is actually an act of not doing. Right. I mean, it's not as if it's not like Lady Gaga putting on a meat dress, right? Like all she's doing is being herself.
It's taking something away.
Yeah. I remember when I started to consciously stop wearing makeup on a daily basis. I absolutely still wear it. If I'm going out at night to a special occasion, I will absolutely be wearing makeup at my book events for the most part. But I remember exactly that feeling of almost undefendedness, nakedness, that I was just going out into the world plain as day as me. And I think that's telling that we feel vulnerable and naked without our makeup on, or at least I do. Not everyone wears makeup, so I'll just speak for myself. But the other thing is when you were saying, Margaret, that we just want to know that we still have time, right? We just want to know that we're not has-beens, that our life is not behind us. That's something that I've really started to realize is how much in our culture women are trained to confuse desirability, how they are seen by others or whether they're thought attractive by others, how they're taught to confuse desirability with their own desire. And that very much happened to me. Like, I found myself after 40, after I was no longer a new mom, which still kind of has that kind of dewy, fertile
You're still in it.
implication. Like, now I'm just a mom, I'm not a new mom. I'm not like the earth mama carrying the baby in the sling with my ample breasts. I started to find myself longing to be a hot mom. That felt like the last bastion of female desirability available to me. And here's a perfect example of how we can't help but be of the culture that we can also critique.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, I can categorically think of a term like MILF, M-I-L-F, and think to myself, that is a misogynistic, gross term. And yet,
but am I one?
I found myself kind of wanting to be a MILF.
Right. I'd rather, it's better than the other option, which is just someone's mom who has no consequence to anyone.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to be a MILF, and I write about that at length in my book.
We're talking to Nicole Graev Lipson. Her new book is Mothers and Other Fictional Characters. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. Hellions, it's time for some spring cleaning, and I don't just mean the coat closets. Doing your financial spring cleaning can actually be super easy when you let Monarch do your financial spring cleaning for you. One dashboard that gets your entire financial life organized. No more clutter, no more mess, no more logins scattered everywhere, just accounts, investments, property, and more, all in one place. Get your first year of Monarch for half off, just $50 with promo code FRESH. Monarch allows you to look not only at what you've already spent, but also to plan for the future. With Monarch, you can set savings goals, plan for big purchases, and notice spending trends before they become a problem. I can generate cash flow reports that show me what we spent this quarter, this month, what we're probably going to spend next month, and feel prepared, organized, and knowing how to plan for the future. No more surprises and a lot more clarity. Try Monarch. Use code FRESH at monarch.com to get your first year half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FRESH. My favorite skincare products actually feel more like self-care, like they're so nice to put on and they smell so good that I'm actually happy when I get to that part of my day. And I swear that is how I feel about Osea's anti-aging body balm.
Amy, you are usually the lotions and potions queen on this podcast, but I have to say, hard agree.
Osea's anti-aging body balm is a liquid silk body balm that combines the lasting hydration of a lotion with the firming power of a serum, leaving skin smoother and firmer.
This body balm is clinically tested and designed to deliver visible results you can see and feel.
So we've gotten to use this product for a couple of months now, and I swear I have really noticed firmer and smoother skin, like on the back of my hands. It's like getting a mini spa treatment from head to toe.
Get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners.
Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FRESH at OseaMalibu.com.
That's 10% off your first order with code FRESH at OSEAMalibu.com.
You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about, like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
I want to go back to the beginning, to your first essay. This is something that I have been thinking about so much lately. We talked to Nora Lally, who wrote a book called Back to Bainbridge, and it's a fictional book about a young woman's reckoning with her mother, basically a teenager who's seen her mother as the enemy and starting for the first time to kind of walk around the tapestry and see the picture that, like, oh, her mom has problems and issues of her own that are not related to this 13-year-old girl. And it's something that I often look back on in my own life, how long it took me. I feel like I missed this boat by 10 years. Like, I remember my mother at some point was talking about her thesis that she had written for college. And she said, like, oh, I really made a wrong choice there. And it was so disappointing what I ended up doing for that. And I'm disappointed in myself still about it. And I remember it was like the cold water ran through my body. Like, my mother is disappointed by something that she did. It was scales falling from my eyes, like a conversion experience. My mother is a human being with disappointments. And so talk about that first essay and this engagement with our mothers as actual people.
Well, I will say that there's nothing that has guided me towards seeing my mother with compassion and nuance like becoming a mother myself.
Absolutely. It's such a reckoning. And as our kids get older, I didn't have it as much when my kids were little, but I now have teenagers, and that was my period of greatest conflict with my mother. And yeah, I'm thinking about it a lot.
Yeah, right. I mean, we suddenly are on the other side. We can understand so much more about the complexities and the demands of motherhood itself once we become a mother. And I think we also do understand on such a deeper level what you were saying about our mothers being full, complicated, layered people. And I think it's only natural that children are so black and white in their thinking and so concrete in their thinking. And it's only natural, of course, that my children, my 9-year-old sees me as mom with a capital M. I am my role to her for the most part. And in many ways, that's as it should be. But there's something very humbling, I think, for me, about becoming a mother and realizing through my struggles, my feelings of failure, all the things that I felt were challenging. It was humbling to think about the ways that I might have blamed my mother for certain challenges that she had when I was younger. I think it's sort of easy in our culture, and I think in many ways our culture points us toward this, to register the mistakes that our mothers make or our disappointments in them, more than everything that they do right or everything that is positive in their devotions to us. And I just want to be clear that I'm really talking about garden variety mistakes that our mothers make as humans. I'm not talking about abuse or neglect or things like this, which absolutely need to be reckoned with. So I really wanted to explore that in the book. And in that opening essay, I'm exploring it mostly by looking back at an affair that my mother had when I was in high school for a couple of years, and thinking about that affair and how my orientation toward it, my thinking about it has shifted over the years. Because when I found out about that affair, I was a young woman in college, and then later, I thought a little bit differently about it when I was a young newlywed woman. And then later on, as a mother of 3, I felt differently about it again. And I think that our views of our mothers are not static in this way. They change as we change.
The book starts with this looking at a picture of your mother smoking. And I haven't seen a picture of my own mother smoking, but another woman in my life. And it's like, oh, you smoked? It's just this shocking thing they used to do that they don't anymore, because then they became a mom. Like the arrival of you put an end to that. But it's also like, you did anything that I don't know about? That photo telescopes out to your mom had secrets. She sneaked a cigarette once in a while. It's shocking in the micro and the macro. And I also think there's a reckoning of, oh, she used to be cool. When you see that, right? Like, my mom had a great career. She had something going on or whatever it is. And then came me, and I definitionally changed her life. And she didn't get to be that cool girl smoking in a miniskirt anymore. It's a weird thing to reckon with.
It is. I used to go looking for that photograph of my mother. It was a photograph of my mother from when she was first with my father from the 1970s, and she's wearing a velour catsuit and she's smoking a cigarette, and her long shiny hair is just flowing over her, and she's squeezing my dad's cheeks in this sort of flirtatious way. And it's not like she was hiding the photograph from me. She just happened to have these old photographs in her scarf drawer. But I used to go in there and look at it because the cognitive dissonance was so thrilling in a way. It was that this is in my mother who wears houndstooth blazers and certainly does not smoke and teaches elementary school and sprinkles her food with cholesterol busting supplements. It was so jarring, but in a wonderful way. And I think it was because it did hint at the layers that we contain, the layers that my mother contained beyond what I knew of her.
And I think that's an experience we have from the other side. Like, I constantly now with my teens, they'll play a song and I'll start singing along. They're like, how do you know this song? I'm like, fool, I was in the mosh pit at CBGB's, like when this band was on the stage. Like, how dare you? But they cannot picture, and I think rightfully so, they can't picture that version of me. And it's so interesting, and I think so well captured. That mystery woman in that picture is your mom. And now I'm feeling it so much from the other side. Like, have I got some pictures for you, kids? But the magic is that you'll never quite ever merge those two visions, I think, together.
Yeah, it's true. And yet we know, I mean, I often think of the Russian nesting dolls, that we contain our 10-year-old self inside of us, our 17-year-old self inside of us, our 25-year-old self inside of us. And that's something I wanted to explore too in the book, is this sense that these archetypes of womanhood that we're handed, like you're a mom, you're an old woman, that they are so reductive and limiting in their vision of what women can contain. And this might sound sort of wild for me to say, but in 2025, I think it's still radical in some ways to declare that women are full, complex, multi-layered, contradictory beings. So I wanted to explore that for sure.
You talk in the book too about the many small decisions that we make each day to play the part we're playing, right? To not play a different part, the sliding doors moments of, I could go out for a drink, but it's my daughter's birthday tomorrow and I need to get home and no thanks. And then you reflect on that like, oh, and my husband's making those decisions too. And my mother made those decisions too. We all make those decisions every day. Okay, I'm going to keep playing this part another day. It's amazing to consider.
Yeah. In that essay, I explore quite openly my attraction in the midstream of a long-term, otherwise happy, healthy marriage. My husband and I have been married 20 years. We've been together 22 years. My sudden and overwhelming and confusing attraction to a younger man in a poetry class that I took. And it felt very radical and scary to write about that. And it even feels scary for me to be talking about it right now. But if you take a step back, of course, married women are attracted occasionally to other people. Your desire, it doesn't leave you. And I wanted to see, writing that essay, like, can I illuminate the both andness of being a heterosexual married woman in a long-term committed partnership who loves her husband very much, and yet had this moment, right? This moment of profound attraction to another man. And also what I explore in that piece is that ultimately the attraction wasn't about this man. The attraction was about feeling alive again for a moment, feeling that quickening of my pulse or that feeling of expectation. And I don't think there's any reason why that can't be kept alive in us in some way. But it's so taboo in our culture to admit to these thoughts, these moments, these attractions.
Yeah, and yet the ink, the screenplays, the novels that have been written about the 7-year itch for a happily married man, right? I mean, they'd go from here to the moon. That's fine. That's fine to write about.
Yeah, I think there absolutely is a double standard, and especially in memoir. I mean, I think if I were to create a fictionalized version of of a woman who was happily married and found herself suddenly overwhelmingly attracted to somebody else, that would be one thing, but it did feel risky to write about it in memoir.
We're talking to Nicole Graev Lipson. Her book is Mothers and Other Fictional Characters, and we'll be right back.
Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, and it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women, tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING. All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that. taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence, all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE.
So another essay in the book is about your daughter and her explorations in how she is presenting herself. And let's talk about that essay, another essay that resonated with my own life experience.
Yeah, so that essay, As They Like It, is an exploration of what it was like for me to observe my oldest child migrating from the identity of a girl toward the identity of a boy in early adolescence. And my background is as a high school English teacher. I taught high school English for a number of years, and I'm a passionate reader. Literature comes into the book a lot. It's often the lens through which I process my experiences, and I often turn to literature for answers. So in my desire to understand my child's journey a little better, I turn in that essay to Shakespeare and to the play As You Like It, and my favorite Shakespearean heroine of all time, who's Rosalind. Rosalind is one of Shakespeare's cross-dressing heroines. There were a few of them in his plays. And that essay was really about my experience as a mother grappling with something entirely new to me, entering territory that I hadn't entered before, loving my child as I love all of my children more than anything in the world, and wanting them to know that I was there for them and supported them no matter what direction this was going in and where they ultimately landed in terms of gender identity. And at the same time, I had a lot of questions. The changes were happening really fast, almost too fast for me to process. And I do what I often do when I'm confused about something, which is turn to the page and start to try to write about it, which I did. So that was the confusion I was trying to sort out in that piece.
You go from, you say as she gets older, that it goes from pride in it being like adorable and cute, like a 6-year-old, I'm making up an age, but like a 6-year-old tomboy is adorable, and like a 14-year-old tomboy who's being maybe misgendered or maybe not misgendered, and you're not even sure, like that you say, I haven't figured out what to do with my uncertainty around this. And that's yours to figure out, right? You can't put that on your kid. So it's like, what do I do with this? The other part I thought was so interesting about this chapter is that you say that it's freedom for a girl to dress like a boy if she wants to, but it's still based on a double standard. So is it really freedom? You're still putting on the costume like Rosalind. I'm going to dress like Ganymede and go into the forest and pretend I'm a boy. That's fun, but it's not actually freedom to be who you are. It's freedom to play a different part.
Yeah, I struggled with that a lot. When my oldest was young, a little girl, I was always really aware of trying not to send her, limited messages about what a girl should be. I write in the essay, like, I tried to avoid books like Pinkalicious, all these sort of books that were geared toward girls, or Fancy Nancy. I really wanted sort of a more neutral stance or a more neutral environment for my children. And when my daughter was younger, I had that sort of pride in her as a quote unquote tomboy. I don't love the word tomboy because I think it suggests that there is only one real way to be a girl. And doing quote unquote boyish things doesn't fit the mold. But my favorite heroines growing up were Jo March from Little Women or Scout from To Kill a Mockingbird. All these sort of gutsy, tomboy kind of heroines, or like Pippi Longstocking. And I sort of took pride in that with my daughter. And then at a certain point, I began to notice, I mean, she was probably like maybe 8 or 9. She started to, we have these plastic, or we did have these, sort of plastic kids, unbreakable drinking cups in our house. And they're all different colors. And if I happened to put the pink one in front of her, because they're like rainbow colors, she would be like, ooh, I don't want the pink one. This sort of rejection of everything that was iconically female. And I began to ask myself at that point, where is the line between a healthy rejection of female stereotypes and misogyny absorbed and turned inward? I don't have the answer to that question still. I think it's tricky, but it was something that I was really aware of as I watched my child migrate from a girlish identity towards a boyish identity. Where does this come from? Does this reflect messages that she has received that maybe it's not all that great to be female in our culture? There's just so many unknowns.
Well, it seems to me it goes to the central sort of question of the book, which is that, is there a neutral even, that like makeup or no makeup are both statements, that there's no just existing outside of some sort of mold. And I think it gets very complicated because as the mother of a daughter exploring a lot of this stuff, there is no, like a woman in a dress is different than a woman wearing a suit, like a man's suit. There's no neutral. There's only choosing among the molds sometimes, it feels like.
Yes. It absolutely can feel like that. And it can be a very almost like alienating experience to feel like it's hard to move through the world straddling multiple identities, right? That you feel like you kind of have to fit into one. But I think one of the things that I love about the essay form is that it doesn't demand tidy resolutions.
That's right. It's not prescriptive, this book. It's not like, and then that's when I learned, we have a joke on the podcast.
Exactly.
Like, we solved it. Okay, we solved marital relationships. And the essay is exactly the opposite of that. It's not like,
is.
And therefore, we've learned that you must wear dresses. Ding. No.
If only I arrived at the end of writing an essay and I was like, Eureka!
Done. All set, guys.
Like, I'm done. I can put that to bed now. I've answered that question. It's not like that at all. But I do feel that the process of writing about the complexities of some of these things that we experience as women and as humans gets me maybe like an inch closer.
So. That's the beauty of the form.
To understanding. Or at the very least, it gives me a little bit more comfort resting in uncertainty.
That's really well said. You solved it. You're resting in uncertainty. You did it.
What do you hope the reader of this book takes away? Like, there is no takeaway. There is no lesson. Is it to engage with, these are parts that I've been playing, and how do I feel about that? What do you imagine her understanding?
Yeah. I mean, I really thought about this as an invitation to readers to join me in these considerations. As we said, I'm not trying to be prescriptive. I'm not trying to say the decisions that I've made with my life or how you should be living your life. It's really an invitation into my thinking through some experiences that I believe many women have had. And I really also wanted, I don't know about you two, but I often feel like the place in my life where I can be my most true, authentic self is with my female friends and my dear female friends, where I can really just say the deep truth of something that I'm going through. And I think often, I'll think about my dear friend, my close friend, Sarah, who I write about in the book. I might share something with her, something that maybe I'm a little ashamed of, something I'm confused about. And what I'm really doing, I realize when I offer that up to her, is sort of hoping that she'll absorb it and maybe say, I have felt that way too. I've gone through that too. I totally understand what you're saying. It's the most wonderful feeling. And I'm hoping that that's the way readers feel. when they read my book, that it's like a conversation with a close friend who's sharing some things with you. And maybe not all of them are going to be something you relate to, but you might relate to them. And in your relating, perhaps it will make you as a reader feel a little better too.
Oh, mission accomplished, I think.
Oh.
This book was all of those things. Nicole Graev Lipson, her new book is Mothers and Other Fictional Characters, an absolutely beautiful book. We're going to put the link in the show notes so you can buy it. And Nicole, tell our listeners where else they can find you.
You can find me on my website, which is www.NicoleGraevLipson.com. And on Instagram at NGLipson.
We will link to all of those places. You do not have to remember them. They'll be in the show notes, friends. Nicole, this was a great conversation. Thanks so much for talking to us today.
Thank you both so much for having me. It was so wonderful.
Thanks, Nicole.